cane spins and strikes. You're gonna start with the cane in your hand. Doesn't matter which hand, because you're gonna do both hands the same. By the way, you can do these sitting down. You can do these if you're in a chair. You can use another cane. If you need a cane to walk with, that means you pick it up, you're gonna fall to the ground, lean onto one, and then you can do all these techniques while spinning in the other hand. So you're gonna start palm up. You're gonna have, I'm gonna lower the camera a little bit. You're gonna have the long side coming out of your thumb. You're gonna move it forward and pull it back. Just making this cranking motion. Keep your hand closed, but not squeezing firmly. You don't want the skin to change. You don't want to cut off the circulation in your hand because you're squeezing so much. You're gonna do this opening spin to the side of your body for about 30 seconds, and we're gonna come over and back. And the way you do that is simply think of slapping him across his face and then giving him your back of your hand for self-defense. So you start here. After you've done this for about 30 seconds, start to come over, back. Again, your hand is closed, but it's not squeezing the cane. This is gonna help you learn how to move through space and time, proprioception, timing and distance, spatial awareness. Means you're gonna hit yourself and know that your hand is in the wrong spot. You're gonna get it up and out of the way. So turn this into a defensive strike. From this spinning motion, you can bring this across fast and bring it back quickly the other way. Bring it across the body, bringing it back and striking whatever you can strike. Maybe it's his hand, maybe it's the side of his head, maybe it's into his neck, and you're gonna knock him out that way. So, good morning, Doug. Good morning, Studer. Start with your simple spin, palm facing up, long side coming out of the thumb. I like to put 1 foot forward. You can do it with your feet under your body into the sitting. Like I said before, you can do it leaning on that other cane. After you've spun here for 30 seconds or so, starting to come over and back. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. When you're ready, you can speed it up. And then turn your palm up of your opposite hand. You're gonna just place it in your hand. Hello, Ingrid, it's good to see you. Closing the hand on the other side, pull and turn. I'll show you from the side. It's as simple as push, pull, push and pull. Good morning, Alita, nice to see you. Other hand is up. Gonna do this for a good 30 seconds, warming up the body, working on building calluses on your hand, and then starting to come over, back. Keep your stomach up and in, abs tight, tuck your chin. Feet just under the body. We're sitting the edge of the bed, the edge of the chair, coming back and forth. And then back into the other hand. Now you can do spinning for as long as you want. These are basic spins. This is the first spin, second spin, third spin, just pulling back and forth. It's a figure 8 motion. You can call it one. And then if you want, you can bring it across the body. I'll show you again from the side. Your palm is down. Hello, Freedom Fighter, it's good to see you. You're turning. And the key is you keep the cane in front of your thumb. If you don't keep that thumb out there, it's gonna start to walk up your arm, and it's gonna smack you on the side of your face. I only tell you that because it's happened to me. That's how I know. That's what's gonna happen if you don't keep it in front of your thumb. If it does start to climb, just slow it down and stop it. So you're starting here, spinning, coming over and back. And again, we're gonna turn these into a strike in a minute, coming to the side of the body. So across the body, this is your right hand, it's on your left side. Your thumb is stopping it. Bring it back over, throw in the other hand, same thing here. Just an orbital spin to the outside, and it can be slow. You can go faster. When you're ready, over and back, teaching your body spatial awareness, timing and distance, teaching your hands proprioception, building callus, building power in your arm. Just like if you were to spin for collie or eskrima, we're gonna go over that spin in a minute. That's gonna increase the power and the strength of all your strikes. So this spinning, you might not use for self-defense. I'm gonna show you how to use it for self-defense in a minute. But you want to do the spinning whether you use it or not for self-defense, because It's going to build speed and power into your strikes. When you're ready, you're going to take your left hand across the body. There's that thumb. The thumb is the key. Keep it in front of or behind the stick. Keep the stick in front of the thumb. From the side, let me see, get it over here. Try not to hit the camera again. So it's on the side of the body. When you're ready, go back into your figure eight. Put it in your other hand. I always like to throw in a set of assisted squats here. That's to build power in your legs. All the strikes come off the ground through your legs. Having strong legs is extremely important. Can't do this, don't do it. If you're confined to a wheelchair, then obviously skip this one. But if you can, if you're older, if you lost mobility, if you lost some strength, if you lost some flexibility, by leaning into your cane and bending the knees, you're gonna be able to do more. Zaiden, Ramos, it's afternoon. It's high noon here. It's nighttime where you are. Welcome, it's good to see you. All right, now we're gonna go over some strikes with that spin, and then I'm gonna show you another kind of spin that I want you to practice with your walking cane. And that's for Doug too. So Doug's gonna send me a video soon. Doug's gonna get certified to teach where he is. He's already teaching a group, but he'll get a certification. Anybody can do that, just reach out to me. But I wanna see basically the curriculum, including the squats, and then all the other strikes. All right, so if you're holding your cane in your hand in the traditional way, so the crook is faced behind you, we call this the crook. It's behind you, the threat's coming in, you put your other hand up, you're like, hey, you're getting too close, back up. He closes the distance to hurt you, you're just going to lift, you're bending the elbow, you're bringing your arm up and your shoulder. War and Peace says senior citizens work. Yeah, this is senior citizen fitness, senior citizen self-defense. It's also self-defense for anybody who wants to use the Gray Man tool that you can take anywhere and everywhere, or maybe wounded warriors, people who are born with differences in the body, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, whatever it is, and they need to have a force accelerator or force multiplier. You can use your walking cane. So you're gonna bring this up. This first motion from here, you're gonna bring it down and smash them on top of the head. Now that's this spin you just warmed up with, married to this motion first. So this just gets between him. Maybe you hit him in the groin, maybe you hit him up under the chin, maybe he's reaching out, trying to stab or slice or threaten with the knife coming at you with it. You're gonna smash and break his arm. Smash that tool out of his hand, knock it back into him, right? The cool thing is, you slice myself a little bit, you have a reach advantage because your cane is generally, they're usually about 36 inches. Yours might be longer, a little bit shorter. It's longer than most knives, even a big kitchen knife, even a machete. So, on these blood thinners, they just make everything bleed. Like I used to have the thickest skin and the little nicks wouldn't cut and I would get no blood, and I'm getting blood everywhere. All right, so you're gonna bring this up and then bam, down on top. All that is this motion, your hand turns, and think about slapping him down the top of his head. The difference is you have this. Cole says if someone pulls out a knife and you don't have a gun, run away. Absolutely, if you can run, right? If you can run, get away from them. You might use a cane because you can't run, and then if you can't run and he's still coming at you, and if he wants something, give it to him. But if he means to take your life or your dignity or your freedom to harm you with that knife and you don't have any other choice, then hit him with your stick. I just had to clarify that. But Cole, you made a good point. If you can get out of there, get out of there. If you can't, then you gotta fight. Then just don't stand there like a pincushion and get all slashed up and stabbed 58 times. Use your cane, snatch it up, smash him in the hand, and then break the top of his head. Hopefully you can hit him with enough force that knocks him out, turns his brain off, makes him unconscious, turns off his operating system so he can't operate that knife against you, if you can do that. The other way you can use this spinning motion is you can bring it up and across in this horizontal strike or into a diagonal strike. And after you bring it in, you can bring it back. And then you can bring it down. And those are all based on this spinning motion here. So from here, bring it up, smash them down, bring it across and back, bring it up at an angle, bring it back down at an angle, bring it down over the top of his head, all with that first basic spin. Now I'm going to show you the next thing. You can do that with the crook facing back or the crook facing out. And maybe you might have a second stick, and the second stick might be the one that you use to walk with, and you have to lean on it, because if you were to pick your stick up to hit him, you'd fall to the ground. So you lean on one and you fight with the other one. So from here you can hit and strike, and you can bring it in, back, down, all while keeping your balance using the other walking cane. So you can fight with two canes. You can use one cane for mobility, one cane for self-defense. And then, when you don't need it for self-defense, it'll be a little bit easier to walk. You can even carry it just like this if you needed to. Or you can be more proper, like an umbrella, like a gentleman, carry it like this. Walk with one, hold it up. However you want to, it doesn't really matter. Eternal Zen says, it's David from California. Thanks for sharing, Sensei. David, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. Hello again, Cody. Nice to see you. Cole says, true. Thank you, Cole. I wasn't trying to be critical, but I just think, we see so many attacks these days against people who are weaker by people who think that they're stronger, either because they have more numbers. In other words, large groups of young people jumping and attacking older men and women. Or there was a woman walking her dog, I think it was in New York City a couple days ago. A man walks by her, turns around, walks back, and his big fat man, young fat man, with as much force as he can muster, smashes her, hitting her in the side of her head. She falls, breaks her nose against the brick. Luckily, she fell forward and not backward. If she had fallen backward, she probably would have died. And then she's lying there unconscious. This guy just walks away. Total random attack. But what's not random about it is that these attacks are happening over and over and over again. We see all these attacks with knives. We see, and it's so many things. It's just social breakdown. But the point is, I want you to be able to defend yourself. And you can do that using your cane self-defense with these spins and strikes. All right, now the next spin that I want you to do. Hello, Chris. It's good to see you. Ants, nice to see you. You're going to hold this. Fights and Works Out says, true fact, South Africa is a real gangster's paradise. I've heard so many stories there's a lot of South Africans who live here in South Florida. And I've heard from a lot of them recently, some who've been back recently, some who won't go back because the crime is so incredibly intense. And the criminals are protected. Law-abiding citizens all have to hire multiple levels of security if they can afford it. The rest of them just are hiding at home. It's horrific, but it's happening everywhere. It's happening everywhere in the West. So I think it's important to learn how to defend yourself. Obviously, if you have one of these, you can skip it. You don't have to put it in the comment section. This is better than this. It is in some cases, but most people around the world can't carry one of these, or don't know how to use them, or don't want to for whatever reason. So, and if you do, I think it's good to learn how to also fight with these too. Thank you, Ants. Good to see you. All right, so holding your cane, you're gonna choke up a little bit. So you're no longer here in the crook, you're up here. Yeah, Chris says people are mean, but it's not all people. Most people are good. Most people are kind. Most people are honest. Most people are loving. Most people want the best for you, and they want the best for themselves, and they want the best for their families. And most people will help each other. But what's happening is the people who are mentally ill, or the people who are desperate because they can't afford to feed themselves, and they've given up hope and they started taking drugs or smoking it or whatever they're doing. There's a lot of that criminality that's happening. School systems are broken in so many places. Young people have no hope of getting a good job. They don't know how to read or write. They're getting with other kids. They're going around hurting people. Whatever the reasons are, and it doesn't matter. We can't fix the reasons. All we can do is understand, one, most people are good. Most people are loving and kind. Most of us will help each other. And it's just a small group. As Jim Rohn used to say, he said there's only like 5 or 10 nasty people in the world, but they get around a lot, so you're gonna run into them. All right, good evening from Flanders, Belgium. Thank you, Bart, it's good to see you. Yeah, Chris says he doesn't even drink, much less take drugs. He has a disability, so good. We don't need the drugs. All right, so you just have this outer spinning motion. Yeah, Fights and Works, I'll say, oh, he's in South Africa. Yeah, it's not as bad in most places as South Africa. South Africa is pretty extreme right now, I think, but it's increasing everywhere. Frankie's in Chicago. Hello, Frankie, good to see you. So you're just spinning outside, and then I want you to spin inside. So this is basically a figure eight. Like if you were spinning a stick, a staff, if you were doing, any of that kind of stuff, it's the same motion where your hand's coming in and out. You're carving two small circles, one outside and one inside. But because of the cane, you want to keep it in front of your body. And now you might not use this for self-defense. So that means if he comes up with his knife or he's going to hit you, you might not be doing this, trying to keep him off. It's not a lightsaber, right? But you do this in practice so that when you do strike, you have a lot of speed and power and your grip is strong. When you bounce it off of his head for self-defense, it doesn't come flying out of your hand. Or you run into his body and you smash his clavicle, or you break his arm or his elbow with these canes. And this cane, this is a training cane. This is the Dojo self-defense cane made by Cane Masters. There's a link in the description if you want to see them. But I want you to also see, this is a nicer Cane Masters cane with this teardrop shape. So they've removed some material, and that allows us to have, I don't know if you can see, here, let me take that off so you can see the shape. You can see that it looks like a dull blade. And what that does, yeah, Frankie D says he used it in Hapkido. I also did a lot of Hapkido cane when I was younger. We did a lot of Hapkido, and cane was one of the weapons we used. Hapkido cane is a lot of joint locks, pressure points, takedowns, a lot of really cool stuff. I like to focus more just on the spins and the strikes now for practical self-defense, but this bar of oak, I think this one's oak. I like it made in hickory too. That's going to, because of they've removed the material, made it almost like a dull blade. That's going to compress the flesh. It's going to push it in. It's going to run into that bone and snap that bone or snap the wrist. He's bringing that knife out at you and you're going to break his wrist with it. So that's one of the nice features of one of the more expensive canes. The traditional canes are just like this. You can also have them made like on an octagon shape, so you have multiple edges like that, and that's going to be effective. This one also has the paracord to improve the grip when you get sweaty or if there's blood, self-defense, for self-defense. Has the thumb, put that over the thumb, wrap it around the hand. That way it doesn't come out of your hand. If you had to, you could pop it off your thumb really quick. These features here, this is on most Cane Masters canes. Dig that into his face, into his temple, into his neck, into the meat up there, hit those nerves, rip them down. That's what that's for. That'll pull his nose off his face, his teeth out of his mouth. It's very, very effective. Doug asked, can you give an example of a strike that creates pain and one that will create injury? So the thrusts will most likely create pain more so than injury, unless, of course, you thrust through his throat, you're going to kill him. You can thrust into his solar plexus, knock his wind out, right? If he's got his hands up and he's coming at you with a punch, you can strike and hit him in the temple. You might knock him unconscious. You might break his jaw. You might hit his neck. You might break his neck. Those would all cause injury. If you were to strike with just the tip, instead of, I always encourage you to strike from here up, just like you would any other stick or a sword, from here up. That's farthest away from where you're holding it. It's going to have the most energy in it. It's going to hit with the most strength. If you, Doug, it's all about targets, what your targets are. So when it's life or death situation, you want to remove or destroy his ability to see, breathe temporarily, permanently through his throat, his ability to be awake, maybe knock him out here, break his jaw, cause intense pain, dislocation, hit him in the neck. There's a bunch of nerves in there that if you strike those, you might not break his neck, but you might send a signal to his brain to knock him unconscious. It'll flush the blood out of his head immediately, then it will fall to the ground. He's reaching with that hand. You might be smashing the wrist or the hand or the forearm. Those are all going to cause injury, most likely, depending on how hard you hit. If you were to go to the thigh, the upper thigh, you might not break that big thigh bone. That's hard to break for some people. You might with the other cane, but you might be able to strike the thigh bone and cause a lot of pain. And you would cause an injury too, which would be like a contusion, like a deep bruise. But if you went to the knee, you could break the knee. You could hit the lower leg and knock his foot out from under him. You might fall to the ground. You could turn your cane around using this side. You can strike and pull that leg, especially with two hands, and rip him off and he loses balance. And in that way, it might be less injurious. It might be more painful than if you were to, break his knee and then he's got to go get reconstructive surgery or something like that because you tore his tendons. So you have to think about like what the situation is. If the guy's got a knife and he's trying to take your life, then I think you have to, in my opinion, you have to take the approach that it's life or death. It's either you or him, or maybe he's coming after your wife or your grandchild or your child or your some innocent bystander. Maybe he's got a kid he's holding on to, and in that case, then you want to go for injury. You want to be able to use violence against violence, and it's not injury or not injury. You're not really. It's like a police officer shoots somebody with a knife, crazy person. Then there are always the critics that say, well, he should have shot him in the leg. But every police officer will tell you, we're not trained to shoot people in the leg. Plus, if you shoot at the leg, you miss the leg, it hits the concrete, it bounces up and flies over there and hits the little kid on the swing set. You don't want to do that, right? He should have fired a warning shot. Now you shoot your bullet up in the air, it falls down, hits the little kid and the baby bassinet who's, the mom's walking by, kills the baby because you shot a bullet in the air. You don't want to do that, right? So people, you have these ideas, warning shots, injury or pain, you're going to create pain. Now you can, using two hands, create more painful strikes than injurious strikes, than breaking things. So if you were to hold it here and he's coming in, you can stick it in his face, and you don't have to necessarily break his teeth down his throat, but just this, he's not going to walk through your stick. You can push it here, you can push it into his chest. Like I said before, you can do a two-handed. You look at like law enforcement, police officers, when they create a riot line and they're standing there, they've got their shields and they've got their riot batons. They usually hold the riot baton here, they lower themselves, they have the lower center of gravity, they're a little bit lower than we don't call them protesters, we call them rioters, the punks coming at them, and then they're thrusting and they're aiming for here, and there's a thin fascia of muscle between the belly button and the private parts that if you hit that, you're gonna knock most people on the ground. And then you can lift that up, you can go into the solar plexus, and so you can move somebody back with pressure or pain points without, what we call compliance. You can do compliance strikes, but those are very limited in my experience. And I would never hit somebody with my cane unless I thought it was, they were trying to hurt me or hurt somebody else. Let's see. What would you do against a boxer? I wouldn't fight a boxer. I don't know why we're getting into the whole boxing and stuff. Wow, man, I pulled out the trolls today. All right. So anyway, we're talking about spins and strikes and how you turn, like what the purpose of the spin is. We talked about this one, coming over and back, and how you go from this position, you can come up and you can strike very quickly, bringing it through. You can have, a combination of those strikes put together. And then the purpose of these spins with your cane in training, not necessarily using these spins for self-defense, but then these spins allowing you to strike with more speed, power, and accuracy because you have more control over your strike and you have more power in your wrist. quite quick, so I want to make a clear distinction just for the couple of trolls we have today about the difference between what I'm talking about, which is self-defense, and what you're talking about, which is a street fight. In a street fight, I'm not going to seek out a fight with my cane. And most of the people that I work with who are much older are not walking around looking for a fight with a boxer. I mean, I think that should go without saying, right? I'm not like, they're not walking around hoping that they can get into a brawl with Mike Tyson or Jake Paul. Maybe they'll be the next guy that gets to fight Jake Paul and get the $1 million payday and get the prime, get a free lifetime supply of prime. And then they're going to fight him with their cane in the ring for UFC pay-per-view night, right? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like the unexpected attacks, the thugs, the punks that are in the street that are randomly, and these are not boxers, these are not jiu-jitsu guys who are going to take you to the ground. Now what are you going to do? The guy took you to the ground. That's not what I'm talking about. The guys who are mentally ill or they're on drugs, or it's a group of thugs coming up attacking people, especially the elderly, especially people who look like they have an infirmity. That's why they're carrying a cane. And how do they defend themselves? And what I'm saying is, in that case, you use your cane as a force multiplier. If I'm going to fight a boxer, then I would box because I know how to box. If I'm going to fight a jiu-jitsu, an MMA guy, I would do MMA because I know how to do MMA. I've been training martial arts since I was 9 years old, since I was a little kid. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about if you're older, if you want a tool which is disguised as not disguised, it's also a mobility tool, so you're allowed to take it anywhere and everywhere. It's a force multiplier. You don't feel safe in the neighborhood going to the grocery store anymore, or going to your job or coming home from work, and you want something extra, and you can't carry one of these, or you want something in addition to one of these. How do you defend yourself from someone trying to take your life? Not from some punk kid after school trying to get you into a street fight, not from some idiot in a bar because you have a small manhood and you're trying to prove that you're bigger than he is, not from a road rage incident because you can't control your temper when you're driving your car. It's when it's a life or death situation and you're minding your own business and all of a sudden someone's coming at you with one of these because they're just nuts, or they're crazy, or they're angry and they see you as an easy target. Or a group of punks and thugs or teenagers, and because you live in one of the main cities, Chicago, Philadelphia, Detroit,